And let's talk about the guy that won the race. Kyle Larson he wasn't the dominant car, Tom, and the dominant car was obviously Denny Hamlin, but he had the problem in pit road and the loose wheel or whatever that issue happened to be. But lo and behold, there at the end of the race is Kyle Larson, who spent half the night trying to knock down the turn 2 wall over there and work on his Darlington stripe.
Yeah, Kyle estimated that he hit the wall at least 20 times after the race, which doesn't surprise me. But the thing you got to remember is the fastest car doesn't always win the race. The dominant car doesn't always win the race. We see that more often than not it does, but it doesn't always. So much of racing is being in the right place at the right time. I go back, and this is a long time ago, but people used to talk about, Derek Cope got so lucky that he won the 1990 Daytona 500 when Earnhardt cut a tire going into turn 3 on the last lap. Well, Cope was running second. He was ahead of 41 other guys. So did he benefit from somebody else's misfortune as Larson did? Of course he did, but he had to be in a position to capitalize on it, and he was, and Larson was on Sunday night.
As you look at Larson, he hasn't been dominant this season as he was a couple of years ago when he won the championship, Jeff, but I don't think they're any less dangerous, are they?
No, I pointed out the other day when we were doing Fast Talk that we were talking about, Bubba Wallace. We were talking about, William Byron and we were talking about everybody else but Kyle Larson. And I said, hey, time out, folks. I said, look who's 1-2 right now. Hendrick Power, Kyle Larson, and William Byron. And we've all known that William Byron is the real deal this year. Okay. Everybody expects him to be in Phoenix. So why not, at the beginning of the playoff, the guy who's got some of the most experience and definitely shows some of the most incredible talent on the racetrack today is now in second place. He won the race, but he's still second in points. But all of a sudden, you got to look and see one of the organizations, it's one of the most powerful organizations in racing. They're at the head of the class right now, and it's showtime. I mean, that's the way you get it done. And we were laughing amongst ourselves. Anybody that plays golf has heard this. You drive for show and you putt for dough. And that's what these guys right here are doing right now. Everybody else is trying to hit it out of the park. All the Fords qualified fast. They did this, they did that. They dropped the green flag. We didn't see any Fords. And in the end, it looked like the Toyotas had the best setup. But guess what? They didn't have the right person to close it out like they did with Kyle Larson. So Chevrolet basically picked everybody's pocket, and, a solid finish by a teammate now has put them in the catbird seat.
Well, Denny Hamlin still in great shape because he won both stages. So, there's 20 extra points that he picked up during the course of the day. So, I mean, he's still 27 points to the good. But as you look down, it's interesting. I mean, Martin Truex Jr. is 25 points to the good, but he did not have. I mean, he just wasn't there.
Was he even down there? Who was driving that car?
I mean, that's the thing. But when you start talking about, when you talk about, Tom, that if you win a stage, 10 points. I mean, those are kind of the hidden points that happen during the course of a race. You got Kansas, you got Bristol still to go in this. So now you got Kyle Busch is 20 points to the good. Well, Keselowski's 18 to the good. Those can disappear really quickly. And even a Michael McDowell, now he's 19 points on the wrong side of the cut line. And because you've got to get over 3 more guys, that becomes a more difficult task, but it's not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. The thing I keep coming back to, though, is that the guys at the top of the points, the top 7 drivers, have won 20 of the 27 races, 74% of the races. And I have a hard time picturing somebody who's not won multiple races already this year being a serious championship contender. Now, we could have a situation like Tony Stewart in 2011 where somebody out of nowhere gets hot and wins a bunch of races and they're there at the end. But the heavy hitters have pretty much been there all year. And if you look, the guys who've won only one race, Stenhouse won in February. Joey Logano won early in the season.
Atlanta, yeah.
Ross Chastain won in June. Most of the guys, the one-win guys, won early in the season. So it's the guys winning now that you really have to keep your eye on, and it looks like they're going to be the ones who are going to go to Phoenix with a chance to win it all.
Jeff, Tom said it earlier, talking about the guys 13 to 16 and the history that, of the trouble they have advancing. And, you got Bubba Wallace is -1, Harvick's -2, Stenhouse -4, and McDowell -19. And that, the difficulty started for those guys anyway, because they didn't bring a lot of bonus points to the table to begin with.
No, they didn't. But excuse me, the one thing when you look at that bottom group, Wallace, Harvick, Stenhouse, and McDowell, is who has shown consistency. I mean, that's the thing is, I think right now to advance, I made this comment on the radio the other day. If you go in there right now and you average a 10th place finish, more than likely you're going to advance out of round one. So here's the dilemma for everybody there at that cut line is, can Chastain put together a consistent race this upcoming week? Can Ryan Blaney do that? Ryan had been struggling. He actually had a decent finish at Darlington. Kevin Harvick, on the other hand, has been a model of consistency. He's always been able to get a top 10 finish. Can he rally back? And possibly he might be one of the very few that might be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat and get a win over the next remaining 2 races. But the key thing is being consistent. And I think that's the guys that are like in the top 4 or 5 positions. All they need to do to make sure they get out of round one without any problems, go to Kansas, get yourself a top 10, don't beat yourself, and it'll take care of itself. Because Bristol, I mean, again, you talking about a mess, a hornet's nest. I mean, that little place up there right now, you keep pressuring everybody, keeping them this tight, it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world up there, because the bumpers are going to become really, really useful during the course of that 500-lap race.